Story 1. Ada for asking my parents to please leave the parenting of their grandson up to me and my wife, yet not doing the same with my in-laws. I, 26M, have a 3-month-old son with my wife, 24F. He's our first child. I have a good relationship with my parents, however they, especially my mom, have a difficult time respecting my boundaries, and they were a bit overprotective of me growing up. I am their only child, so naturally they are going to feel protective of me. While I wouldn't go as far as to describe my mom as a helicopter parent, she seemed to have a hard time allowing me to make mistakes. She would want to have a say in anything I was doing and offer advice whether I wanted it or not. When I was little, this was totally understandable, but as I grew up, it became very annoying. When I moved out, I told her that now that I'm grown up, she needs to respect my boundaries as well as accept that I might do certain things differently from how she does. I've requested that she please ask me if want help advice with something, and to please respect my wishes if I say no. She seems to have a very hard time with this. She'll reluctantly say she'll try to do that, but honestly, I don't think she's making enough effort. We've argued about this many times. It really feels like she doesn't trust me. When my son was born, I asked both of my parents to please leave the parenting up to me and my wife, and if we need help, we'll ask. They agreed, though my mom seemed reluctant, not surprised. Now, I didn't think it was my place to ask my in-laws to do this, because they're her parents, not mine. I told her that if she would like her parents' help advice with raising our son, it was fine with me, and the decision of how much or how little involvement her parents had was up to her. I am also more comfortable with my wife's parents because she's the youngest of 4 children, and therefore they have more experience as parents. They know when it's appropriate to offer help and when they should take a step back. Anyways, today we're having a barbecue for the 4th of July. We invited both of our families. It was the first time we've all been in the same room since our wedding. My mom saw how much my in-laws were helping with our son, feeding him, changing him, putting him down for a nap, etc. They're mainly doing this because my wife is busy in the kitchen. My parents took me aside and asked why I want my in-laws' help but not theirs. I told her the reasons. Dad took it pretty well. He enjoys being a fun grandpa. But my mom is very hurt. Now I feel bad. I was looking forward to a fun day with our families, but now I'm feeling guilty. My mom basically is just standing around doing nothing and looks hurt. My feelings of wanting her to leave the parenting up to me and my wife hasn't changed, but I don't know how to express this without upsetting her. Honestly, I'm kind of wishing everyone would just go home. AET for telling my parents to leave the parenting up to me and my wife, yet leaving the decision on how much my in-laws are involved up to my wife because I didn't feel it was my place. In my opinion, he is an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Story 2. Ada for what I said when my parents announced they were having another baby. My parents have 7 kids. There's me, 16M, Kayla, 13F, Robin, 12M, Sam, 10M, Lacey, 8F, Zoe, 6F, and Robbie, 4M. They only ever intended to have 2 kids, and even with me and Kayla alone, they'd still struggle. My parents don't have great jobs. We never had much space in our house to begin with, and now we're all crammed in. I started working at 13 to get money so I could pay for stuff I needed, like a laptop, which I didn't have access to when my school first shut down. We didn't even have internet then. My parents swore they were done with Robbie and they'd get us back on track, and that I wouldn't need to work just to pay for stuff I needed for school. The weight of being the oldest is already a lot, and I have paid for stuff before. I babysit so my parents can work nights or get a break. I take care of the house most days so they can focus on earning money. But it's a lot, and we're really too big of a family for what we can actually afford. My parents get help from the government, but it doesn't go far because they're not good with money or with buying groceries. When no baby came right after Robbie, I thought they were serious, and I started to think about my future. I'd love to learn to cook better and work in a restaurant. Not college exactly because we could never afford it and my grades aren't good enough, but something. Then Monday, my parents sat us down and told us they're having another baby, and Mom is like 14 weeks pregnant. They knew for 7 weeks and didn't want to tell us until they were ready. My siblings were mostly surprised, but me? I said not again. I think I even cried a little, which caught me off guard because I'm not a crier usually. This was apparently enough to break me though. My parents got so angry at me and told me to check my attitude. I told them they gave me this attitude by being so reckless and putting so much on me, and now they've broken their promise and we're going to struggle even more than before. They told me to stop acting like they're doing something to me, that accidents happen and they'd never abort, even if they could. They told me to focus on making things okay and less on being so negative. I know people say that having money isn't as important as long as you have a loving family, and maybe that's true for some people. But mine feel like a weight I have to carry, and not something I'm blessed with. They're a responsibility on me, a burden really. And maybe that's awful to say, but it's how I really feel. I hate worrying about what'll happen if they can't afford the bills, or if my laptop breaks and I can't afford to fix it or get a new one, or what if we can't afford food, or we can, but I have to pay for groceries instead of save. Am I the asshole? I do not think he is an asshole. What do you think? Comment below.
Story 3. Ada for telling my friend I'm not taking parenting advice from her. It's no secret that I'm not very strict with my kids. 2 boys, teenagers. They don't have a curfew. I don't get mad at them if they don't get good grades. I don't ground them. They have girlfriends that I allow them to see have over. Yes, I know my older one has smoked weed, etc., etc., etc. And guess what? The boys are typical teenage boys, but they are kind-hearted and sweet. We have a very good relationship and they're actually home more often than not. While we aren't strict parents, we also taught them to be kind, generous and respectful. And it actually worked. Though we do have some bad days, but no one's perfect. I have a friend that's a great mum, but her and her daughter cannot stand each other right now. She complains about not being able to connect with her, but I don't say anything because every child is different, and I also don't have any daughters. My parenting style won't work on every child either. Anyways, this friend came over for lunch and both my boys were home. One of them had their girlfriend over and we were chatting for a bit before they both went upstairs to my son's room. My friend looked shocked and was like, "You're seriously going to let them be alone in his room?" I just said yeah, and she was like, "I could never do that." I just laughed along with her. Then my eldest comes downstairs and is all like, "Hey mum, I'm ordering food, you want anything?" I said no thanks and turned back to my friend, and she looked shocked again and was like, "But you cooked food?" I told her he's old enough to eat whatever he wants, and he's ordering food with his own money that he earned, so why would I stop him? It's not like it's a special occasion or I specifically cooked food for him. Besides, what I cooked was literally just fancy-looking grilled cheese sandwiches. My friend made a face and kept telling me that what I'm doing isn't right and that I'm acting like their friend, not their parent, and even teenage boys need rules to become good people. I was trying to change the subject, but she wouldn't just let it go, so I said, "I'm sorry, but I'm not taking parenting advice from you." She went quiet before yelling at me and saying that I'm the weird one, not her, and that I can't be serious. I told her that she should probably leave, and she was like, I didn't know you were such a mean person. I pray your kids never talk to you again when they realize how much you failed them." Now, I'm not asking for judgment about my parenting. I know how many will react, but I tear for what I specifically said to my friend about her parenting. I feel a little bad because it is a sore spot and she's not a bad parent at all.
I do not think she's an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Story 4. Ada for asking my parents what they have done for me and not for my brother. I, 17M, have a younger brother, 15M, who has a number of serious disabilities from birth. He suffered brain damage at birth, has a missing kidney, has digestive issues that means he eats through a feeding tube, he cannot walk and can only make sounds instead of talking. My parents' time and attention has to be focused on him more than on me. For the first few years after he was born, I spent a lot of time with my grandpa, who raised me from the age of 2 until I was about 7, and then I was seen as old enough to be at home after school and could make my own food and clean up after myself and not need supervision mostly. Grandpa was willing and had offered to keep taking me after school, but my parents said he didn't need to do it and he deserved to live his life. I never get one-on-one time with my parents. They couldn't afford field trips and never took the time to apply for the school field trip fund, so Grandpa picked up the slack there. He paid into my school lunch account so I didn't have to make my own lunch. Grandpa was the person who'd pick me up from school if I was sick. He'd stay and take care of me at home, since whichever parent would be home would really just say to go to bed or lay on the couch and relax, and there was no caring for me or taking care of sick little me. When I was 11, I got picked for this junior programmers contest through our school district, but my parents said they couldn't take the time for it, so they refused to sign off. And since Grandpa couldn't, even though he offered to take me, I missed out on that. When my laptop broke in October 2020, it was Grandpa who replaced it for me so I could, school when school wasn't in person. When I got older, I was asked to do more like cook for everyone, pick up meds, or get the special bath ready for my brother. A few times my mom or dad even reprimanded me for not doing off my own initiative. My parents have nothing set aside for me to go to college. They have never considered colleges. And last year, I had my guidance counselor on my ass, wanting me to go to college and wanting us to attend some college talk, and my parents wouldn't go. I told her I didn't have money for college, and she said she would reach out to my parents about forms. They never got back to her. She called, emailed, reached out repeatedly. Nothing. Then I told her I had decided to skip college, and she was like, "No, no, you need to go." And she tried reaching out to them again to talk about it, but they didn't respond. My parents wanted to get a night off and catch up with some friends in town, and they asked me to babysit. I said no. My parents told me I should help my family, and considering all they do for me. So I asked them, what have they ever done for me? I told them it had to be for me, not for my brother. I asked them to name one thing, and I pointed out all the stuff they didn't do. They called me spiteful and told me to stop looking at it through the lens of a kid. Aita? I do not think he is an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Story 5. Will I be the asshole if I don't give my late boyfriend's house to his parents? My BF, 30M RIP, and I, 33M, were together for 15 YRs. I was his senior in high school, and we stayed together until a few months ago when he passed away due to bone cancer. I live in a traditional country where same-sex marriage is not legal but is not a big issue socially. His parents kicked him out when he came out as gay at 17. My family took him in, helped him to finish high school, and were supportive the most they could. I work in HR and he worked in IT. Since he started to work, he made good money. He saved enough to purchase a house 10 years ago. He was paying the mortgage all by himself. 4 years ago, he got the diagnosis. He reduced his working hours to take care of his health, and I stepped in to pay the mortgage. It was a hard battle, but cancer took him back in March. After he passed away, his family appeared in the picture saying how they regretted not being in his son's life and stuff. Time went by, and a month ago they reached out to me asking me when they can expect to get the keys of the house. Since same-sex marriage is not legal, they could claim the house as their family. I told them that the house was in my name. I bought it from him a year into the cancer, so it was legally mine, and I had been paying the mortgage way before it. They got upset and said I was being unreasonable, that it should be legally theirs, that my boyfriend would have wanted to give them the house, which is in fact true. My BF talked a lot about how he would give everything to them if that would fix the relationship between them. Actually, he bought the house as a way to bring them to live with him so they would no longer rent. He also tried to make amends with them all this time, unsuccessfully. I told them that I would give them the house for the price I bought it from my BF, and they would have to pay me back these 4 years of mortgage plus take the debt over their name. They said they didn't have the money and that it was so selfish of me to tell them that, knowing what my BF would have wanted. They proposed just to change the debt onto their name and give me no money in return. I declined. They got mad and the discussion got heated to the point they told me they would bring me to court, accusing me of scamming my boyfriend to have the house. They can't. They have been calling and texting me nonstop for the past month, telling me I would be an asshole to my boyfriend if I don't give them the house. I know they can't pay me back all the money I put in the house, but I'm conflicted right now. Some friends told me that I should give them the house and move on with my life, but it just doesn't feel right to me. I'm leaning more on to not giving them the house, but I know my boyfriend would jump the bed and give it to them. Right now, their words feels empty and as if they just want to take advantage of the situation. I don't need the house, to be honest, but don't want to give them either. We never talked with my boyfriend what should I do with the house after his death, so will I be the asshole if I don't give them the house? I live in a country in Central America. For safety reason, will not give the name. Here it is not illegal being LGBTQ+, but same-sex marriage is just not legal, nothing more. We didn't live in the house, we lived at my apartment. That's why I don't need the house, but I just don't feel right giving it to his parents. Also, almost all his money went to pay medical bills. He didn't want me to put my money on it, which obviously I would have. And buying the house was the best idea we came out with to satisfy both of us. The house is not a big one, 6 mils x 10 malpties, and also is in the suburbs, is not worth the same as in other countries around USD $90K or a little more. He was such a kind heart, so I'm pretty sure that even if it was a lie, he would have given them the house the moment they acknowledged him as gay and told him they loved him. That's the reason why I'm having a hard time considering this. I do not think he is an asshole. What do you think? Comment below. Subscribe for more interesting stories.